This is Michael Spedden, and welcome to Fowl Players Radio, your one-stop shop for all of your pop culture needs. We feature interviews from musicians, actors, comics, dancers, authors, and much, much more, up-and-coming artists and beloved favorites. We've got it all, people on stage, backstage, out front, and behind the scenes. Sit back and relax. Let's have some fun.
Hi, I'm Emmy Jo.
And I'm Doug, and we're from the New Zoo Review, and you're watching Fowl Players Radio.
Hi, this is Paul Castiglia, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio, the one-stop shop for all your pop culture needs.
And welcome back to another episode of Fowl Players Radio. Michael Spedden here. We're already in season 12. Can you believe it? Where has the time gone? Today's guest is somebody I would describe as a Jill of all trades. She's done lots of great things in her life. She's had lots of very interesting careers. She's been in the public relations business, a journalist, a social worker, and she has written some books. These two books right here, Baby Dragon's Big Sneeze and Baby Dragon Finds His Family. These are a couple of books that are for small children that have they're moral stories. They teach children different virtues, and excellent for the ages 3 to 7 age group. And we're going to talk about that. Her website is kindpublishing.com. And a very, very interesting person. You know, she talks a lot about how the books were made, choosing an illustrator, writing the stories, and a lot of the other things that she's done in her lines of work. You know, lots of different, many different paths she's taken in life. And we're going to talk about that right here. So stick around, folks. We'll be back with Sheryl Bass right after these words. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, this is Kathy Ladman, and you're listening to Fowl Players Radio, the place where you get all of your good news information. Not really, but it's just a great show.
And welcome back to another episode of Fowl Players Radio. We're now in season 12. And so far this year, we've been interviewing authors. You know, last episode, we had David Finkel. And today we have Sheryl Bass. Sheryl is the author of these two books here. And you can kind of see them through the glare. And I'll also put up a nice picture of them in the interview. So you can see Baby Dragon Finds His Family and Baby Dragon's Big Sneeze. And these are well written and very well illustrated as well. So Sheryl, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. And so tell us about this. You've got quite a background. I was looking at, you've got several college degrees. You've been involved with lots of different things, as well as now being a children's author. So tell us about this path here. These books obviously have a moral to the story. Baby Dragon is your main character. Mm-hmm. And there's a moral to the story, and it teaches things about human virtues and, human interaction, how to behave with each other. So tell us about this.
Well, I have a master's degree in social work, and I took some child development coursework throughout that master's degree. And I also have a master's degree in journalism. And so I use both master's degrees to inform my picture book writing. And the stories, like you said, they do have a moral to them. So I employ something called social emotional learning, which is these types of morals to the story. They teach these types of soft skills to kids. And the way to basically think of them is they're the kinds of skills that an employer would look for in an adult. Is this person a team player? Does this person apologize when they've done something wrong? Do they take accountability? So those are some of the things that I really want to teach through the pages of these books. So.
I see. And again, the age group that you're aiming at, it's very important that these lessons get taught, mm-hmm. I think, because I'll tell you what, I can remember being that age, mm-hmm. wasn't that long ago, but, or maybe it was, but kids can be brutal on mm-hmm. each other. Kids can be brutal on each other. And it's very important that you teach these things like understanding and forgiveness and the things, talked about in the book.
Thank you. Yes, definitely.
Yep. Yep. So looking at these stories here, and again, I absolutely love the illustrations in here. Are, not only is the story outstanding, but the illustrations are outstanding as well.
Thank you.
And it looks like the person who did the illustrations is Remish Ram.
Yes.
What can you tell us about getting to know or choosing Remish Ram as your illustrator for these books?
Okay, well, I'll back up and tell you first how I found how I got the books published to begin with. They're
Okay.
self-published, and I always thought that self-publishing meant that I would be alone toiling away trying to figure out how to publish these books.
Mm.
But I am a member of the Society for Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, and as such, they have archived videos on their website that you can watch. And so I watched one of these archived videos, and there was a woman named April Cox on the video, and she has a company called Self Publishing Made Simple. And I contacted her, and she will get on a Zoom call with you, and she'll walk you through all of the things you need to know about self-publishing. And she has vendors that she works with, including illustrators. So she has about 12 illustrators that do something called work for hire, which is something I would recommend for anyone who's a self-published author, because the work for hire contract allows you, the author, to have the rights to your characters after the story. So if I wanted to have like a plushie or a stuffed animal, or something like that, I can have those kind of characters. These are my characters. So, so I looked through the 12. I found my top four after looking at their websites. And then she said, have them all draw the same image. So I picked the same scene from one of my first book, Baby Dragon's Big Sneeze, and had them all draw the same thing, just in black and white. Paid them each $50 to do that, and then was able to narrow it to my top two, and then used my friends and family, especially those that have kids, as a focus group. And I said, which dragon is cuter and why, and which little girl do you like better, and so on. And that's how I was able to come upon Ramesh Ram.
Wow, very interesting. And there's a lot to know. It's good that there are groups out there like the self-publishing group that you had mentioned to really kind of watch over people while they're doing this, because
Yes.
I can tell you, having been a musician, having been in, other acting, other mediums of entertainment, so many people want to get their hands on your stuff, and they
Mm,
will if, sometimes if you're letting the fox watch the hen house,
mm,
it can get taken from right out under you and everything. But
yes.
it's good that you were able to protect your characters. And that way,
Yes.
if you decide, are you planning on more volumes of Baby Dragon, or are there going to be other characters you plan to introduce?
I have a third book that I've already written and it's been edited. I just need to kind of take some time to amass the funds to get the third one illustrated.
Oh,
But it's
certainly.
already, on the page and ready to go. It just
Hmm.
I just need to get that illustrated.
Yeah, never cheap to put that together and either. I mean,
Right.
having played music, been in the studio, getting CDs and albums together,
Mm,
it's never cheap, and there's all kinds of things pop up that you never expected before. So I
hmm.
can understand where you're coming from with that.
Right, right.
Um,
Thank you.
yeah, I can definitely understand, and it's definitely an undertaking. So the so tell us a bit about these two stories here. You have they're kind of like a serial, they're
Yes.
a sequence, in other
Yes.
words. So tell us about tell us as much as you would like to without giving away the store.
Okay, sure. So the first story is Baby Dragon's Big Sneeze. And in that one, Baby Dragon is born. He hatches out of an egg in a cave, and he is flying around, and he catches a cold somehow and sneezes. And unfortunately, because dragons breathe fire, when he sneezes, he burns down a village by accident, and everybody's really mad at him,
Hmm.
and they assume he did it on purpose. But a brave little girl decides to get his side of the story and finds out that it was an accident, that he just sneezed. She wonders where his parents are, finds out that he doesn't have parents to speak of. They left him, He hatched alone in a cave. So she and the villagers get together and help him get well, and in turn, he helps them rebuild. So it's got messages of forgiveness, of accountability, reciprocity, friendship, teamwork, forgiveness, all of those types of messaging in that first story.
The way the world is such an important message, especially today. They went and found out what happened, in this story. They go and find out what really happened.
Yes.
Instead of, I know that, this looks like it takes place in sort of a medieval time, so with no Facebook and no social media, but
right.
but nowadays that appears to be the way that people find out, and somebody can put anything they want out there, and then you've got 500,000 or 500,000 believers, and that's how bad things occur. And so that what a great story, and what a great thing to do. What a great thing to put into a book, and what a great lesson for people.
Thank you. And also, I wanted the dragon to be, he's the size of a two-story building, so he's big, so he's a little bit foreboding and scary to the townspeople. And so I also wanted to have that message of, don't necessarily assume. And just because somebody may be scary in some way doesn't mean that they really are. They may appear a certain way, and that may not be really what's going on underneath. So that's the first story. The second story takes place a few months after he's been living with the villagers for a while, and Baby Dragon finds his family. He starts feeling out of place because he is the only dragon. He's living among humans. And so he wants to find others of his kind. So he goes on a quest, and meanwhile, he ends up finding other mythical creatures. He finds an elf, a fairy, and a unicorn. And he helps them with various problems along the way. And he is in search of his own family. But I am going to go ahead and ruin it for the adults. Spoiler alert, he does not find other dragons that look like him. He does not find his parents. But he finds that the people that have been caring for him all along are his found family, and they're the people that care about him, and that's what family is those that care for you and love you, and so that's a nice message, particularly for kids who are either adopted or have blended families, non-traditional family structure, that kind of thing.
And that's something that's more and more common nowadays too. There are times when birth parents just can't be there anymore for whatever reason, and there are lots of reasons nowadays why these things happen.
Right.
And it's important that people know that, and they get to understand that when they maybe their classmates show up for school one morning, somebody drops them off that's not a birth parent or something along those lines, or if they go to somebody's house and who are these people, why do you live with them, so again, and it's again, the point is well illustrated, well spelled out, in a way that children that age could really absorb it and understand. So bravo, well done, or brava maybe.
Thanks so much.
Nicely done. And so you had mentioned plans for, I guess you had mentioned you're getting it together, financially and everything. Any inkling of maybe what the story would be? Is it a continuation of Baby Dragon, did you say, or was it something else?
It is. It's a continuation, but I don't want to tell you yet what's going to happen to him in the third one. But there's also another story that I've written that is also ready to go. That's not about Baby Dragon. It's a separate children's picture book that's been written. It just needs to be illustrated, and it's loosely based on a dog that my husband and I had that had some mental health issues. He was really behavioral issues and things like that, and we got him involved in agility, which is sort of like, I don't know if you've ever watched American Ninja Warrior, but it's dog agility is like American Ninja Warrior, but for dogs. So it's like an obstacle course for dogs.
Yeah, I've seen that before. I think where they like zigzag through these things that are standing up, and then they go up a ladder and down a ladder. through a tube and yeah.
Yeah. And so we got him involved in all of that. And he was a border collie mix. And so getting him involved in that kind of thing really helped quell a lot of his behavioral issues. He needed a job, he just
Mhm.
needed something to do to get out his energy. And so that's what that story is about too, how adopting from a shelter and why that's a good option. And then being patient with personality differences and so on, and
Mhm.
then how giving him a job and giving him activities to do, how that turned it around. So that's
Uh,
another story.
That's true of not only dogs but of people too. Having a
Yes.
purpose and having something to do. Hey, in my career, and I won't go on about me, but I spent a lot of time in construction safety and training in my day
Mm,
job, which the best showbiz advice I ever got, folks, was don't quit it. And
mm,
so I um, was working with people. There was a couple of groups that had ex-convicts, getting out of prison for the first time and trying to help them with their job skills, and they had been in for as little as a year, a couple of months, all the way up to 10, 15, 20 years, and
mm,
making the adjustment, giving them some sort of skills, some sort of hope, something to look forward to, as compared to, and it did have as compared to just going back to the street corner or wherever they were.
right.
We did have a good percentage of people where it really was a good, it really did work well. It really
Hmm.
did work well. And I'll tell you thing, and you were just talking about dogs and behavior. My wife used to be a dog trainer, and she
Oh.
still does, she doesn't do it formally now.
Uh-huh.
But she has the ability to go to somebody's house, and if the dog's barking and going berserk, she can have the dog eating out of the palm of her hand within
Oh.
a couple of minutes, because she knows how to do that, and she
Uh-huh.
knows how their minds work,
Right.
how to develop trust and that sort of thing. And this is great information to have out there. Wow,
Right.
wow. And so you have a background. I can see where your background in social work was, and I
Mhm.
guess that plays into this as well.
Yes.
What type of social work were you doing? I mean, there's all kinds of social. There's a million kinds. There's as many breeds of dogs out there as there are types of social workers.
Right.
What was your, I guess, area of expertise?
I worked with low income people.
Oh, okay.
So people that had become low income, that are all different ages.
Hmm.
Either kids that had been emancipated from their families.
Hmm.
I guess maybe that's where Baby Dragon finds his family came in. Maybe that.
Oh,
Um,
sure.
but also older people who had become homeless, not having the income as they age and
Hmm.
things like that. And some people that had mental health issues and
Oh,
became
sure.
homeless from that. And I was a case manager, so I helped them find employment and housing and all of those types of things.
Hmm. I got to tell you, a good social worker is worth their weight in gold. Because there's times when, um, like my family situation, we never really needed any kind of intervention or anything like that. We did fairly well until my grandmother got into her 90s
Mm,
and had dementia.
mm,
And so many people are not, how do dementia is a very, very bizarre, strange, tough thing to cope with. I'm sure you've probably seen it a thousand
yeah,
times.
yeah.
And it- thank God we had, our local county had a good department. They called it the
Mhm.
Department of Aging, and there were
Mm,
people that knew exactly, there's so many things out there that we never even dreamed of that were available to help her.
mm,
It's things that we had never heard of, things that, like, the gas and electric company were doing to help people,
mm,
things that the local county, my grandfather was a World War II veteran, and there were things there for her.
mhm,
And it really, really made it really, really made you know, we had to put her in a home
mhm.
you for people that knew how to care for that.
Right.
And but they guided us the whole way, and
Hmm.
they were so well versed, and they did such a wonderful job. I mean, kudos to those in the social work profession. You know, and again, there's all kinds of
Right.
different needs and different things, and I'm sure, you know, with you dealing with families, you know, you're seeing a lot of the things that have you know, that affect children, and you know, maybe just some good things you can give to children in the form of stories and moral lessons that could really help them and everything. And I really see where this came in.
Oh, thank you. But now I do PR, public relations.
Mm-hmm.
So I went back to school after my master's in social work and got a master's in journalism and was a
Mm-hmm.
practicing journalist, for a business publication for a few years,
Mm-hmm.
and then went into PR.
Hmm.
So I'm able to promote myself and get myself on podcasts like this with my PR background.
Right. And again, that's another area which is really you know, there are a lot of talented people out there that just don't know where to go.
Mm,
That just don't know where to go. And there's a lot of people like me who are like, hey, I'll tell anybody you want about what you do. Come on and let's
mm,
talk. And
mhm,
it's always good to find people this way. I've had several people come my way. And a lot of the interviews that I've done over the years, you know, on this podcast alone, since 2018, I have over 350 episodes
mm.
and 12 seasons. You know, it's just like TV, how, you know, a season isn't always a year. It could be part of a
Right.
year or something like that. And so it's been enjoyable. I am a big advocate of, you know, I'm also a DJ on 97 Underground in
Mm,
Baltimore. And
mhm,
a lot of what we do is promote local bands, and I
mm,
interview bands on my show.
mhm,
And so we're kind of, you know, publicists in a way too. You know, we're
mhm,
getting the word out about these bands, and I spend at least a half an hour of every show that I do with bands just from the Mid-Atlantic region that are not signed, indie bands coming up.
mm,
You know, trying to get some airplay, trying to get some, you know, good publicity and to get known, so they
mm.
can end up, you know, getting the moving on to the next level and everything. And that's got to be an interesting line of work too. What kind of clientele do you have? Is it? I know I've had one of your clients on who was in, you know,
Yes.
literature and writing.
Uh-huh.
Do you have others?
So writing is one of the industries that I help clients with, but I help clients in a variety of industries: restaurant, retail,
Hmm.
nonprofit, healthcare, pretty much any industry I've worked with
Hmm.
and have done PR for. So it's nice. I get to learn a little bit about everything.
Right, right. Well, and again, you know, that's another thing that's really needed too, because again, looking back at the baby dragon story, um, rumor gets out somebody saw a rat at this restaurant.
Mm,
You know,
mm,
oh God, that place is filled with rats. I'm
mm,
never going there
mm,
again. No, 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 it
mhm,
wasn't. And we need
mhm,
somebody who can communicate that to the media
mhm.
in a
Right,
professional manner. And I'm
right.
sure that's something, you know, with your, you know, I mean, your resume to me looks like it's just crawling with people skills.
Oh, well, thank you.
You know,
Hmm.
I can just, you know, by the books that you write and you know, the clientele that you've had here. And I'm sure you know, sometimes what I like to ask a lot of, you know, musical guests that I have, you know, bands and even people in acting and, you know, movies and TV, maybe about some of the biggest disasters, something went horribly wrong on stage. Now I realize with you representing people, you know, sometimes you can't look back and laugh on some of these things, you know,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
other times you can. But are there any, I guess we shouldn't probably delve into anything that you've had to deal with, because you've probably had to really put out some fires.
Well, I can tell you one type of problem that I mean I've done crisis communication, which is like what
Oh,
you were explaining with the rat or in the
mhm,
restaurant and things like that. Not with insects or rats, but with maybe people getting sick and things like that. But the
mhm,
one type of problem that I found the most frustrating is when a guest is scheduled to be on particularly something live and they just don't show up. And that happened once where we
mhm,
had someone a pediatrician that was scheduled for Dog Bite Awareness Week or something. He was going to talk about how to avoid getting bitten by a dog. And we were in the TV studio waiting for him. It was about 10 minutes before he was supposed to go on. It was live TV. And we called him. We're like, are you on your way? And he said, "Oh, no, I got caught up with a patient. I'm not going to be able to make it." Meanwhile, the TV station had already done teasers about this. They'd already
Mm.
prepared that he was going to come on and had been promoting it. And they had to vamp for like 10 minutes and that ruined our relationship with that TV station. We tried
Oh
buying
yeah.
them donuts. So please, people, don't screw over your PR agency. If they
Oh
get
yeah.
you something, please, if you can't do it, let them know well in advance. Don't just not show up for something. So,
Crisis management and crisis intervention is so important,
yes.
especially if something happens to you. My day job, again, you're working in the construction safety field.
Mm, mm,
Sadly, you hear about, every couple of weeks, 3 or 4 people get buried in a trench. There was a
mm,
gas line explosion.
mm,
A building collapsed, something like that.
mm,
And, it seems like people, like crisis management, you know how to deal with the public, you know what to say.
mm,
And a lot of times when people are on their own, they end up just making it worse for
right,
themselves because they say things that, and again, too, everything that you say publicly is there forever.
right.
And it shows up in court
Mm-hmm,
in
mm-hmm,
front of a jury and a judge sometimes,
right,
and it doesn't work in your favor.
right.
So it's very, very important. And I'm sure that's something that, with you having experience in this area, you've seen a lot of, you really know a lot of do's and don'ts about that.
Yes. Yeah.
You really know a lot of do's and don'ts about that. And then also, again, how to communicate with people, how to, deal with the media. And again, too, the media can be rough too. And if they're not, and I'm sure you've probably experienced too, being both a journalist and
Yes.
in your line of work, you got to get this story. They sent
Mm-hmm,
you down there to get a story. You got to find out something.
mm-hmm,
And, when it's getting to be past dinner time and people are still waiting on something, they're getting a little antsy and
mm-hmm,
maybe sometimes, you know, not with everybody, but something gets published that shouldn't have been,
mm-hmm,
or a rumor gets started or something too. And I'm
mm-hmm.
sure that's the damage you've had to deal with too.
Right, right. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
So, wow, what a fascinating career you've had.
oh, thank you.
What a fascinating career. And now you're writing children's books with good moral stories in there and everything. How about growing up? What kinds of things did your parents read to you?
Um, They read a lot to me, and they read a lot on their own. My father was sort of a speed reader, so he would and he would like I would give him a paper, a 12-page paper that I wrote for school, and he would be flipping the pages very quickly, and I would say, "You could not have read that or really comprehend it." And he would say, "Yes, I did. Ask me something." And I would ask him questions, and he really did know he really
Hmm?
absorbed whatever it was about. My parents were avid readers. My mother was an attorney. My father was a plastic surgeon. They were both very bright people. Um, One of the stories that I loved as a kid was Charlotte's Web. I loved that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
The with the spider and the pig and so
Hmm.
on. Um, but also another thing that sort of got me into the children's book writing was that my sister and I, growing up, we both sing, and we used to take songs and change the lyrics. And make them for an anniversary or a birthday or something like that, and we'd harmonize and so writing in rhyme was something that I'm very comfortable doing. So, and both of my dragon stories, and of course this third one and the dog story that will eventually be published, all of those are in rhyme. So,
Hmm. Yeah, I noticed that too. And you did a nice job with these here, and I could tell that you weren't stretching. I've heard
okay,
people
thank you.
I've heard people you know I can't think of an example right now, but I've heard people really stretch for rhymes
Mm,
sometimes too. And
hmm
but did you like, I can remember growing up, both of my parents were teachers when I was young too.
Mm-hmm.
My father ended up going on to law school, and then my mother ended up actually going into social work
Hmm.
later on. But when I was little, they were both teaching and substitute teaching, and Dr. Seuss was always out.
Oh yeah.
Richard
Mm-hmm.
Scarry, if you remember any of those.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the in those days too, and I'm talking my time frame when I early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a lot of instructional books too, like because a lot of the Dr. Seuss, not only did they have moral stories, but there were other ones that were just they would teach you how to read small words, and
Mm.
they were for little kids to learn how to read and understand the words, and what how to, when you see letters, how they sound together, learning how to put together words and things. Was there anything like that that you liked too?
There was Curious George. I
Oh,
remember Curious George. Um, but yeah, sort of the Dick and Jane books, those types of things.
oh yeah.
It was the early 70s with me as well. So I
Yeah,
think you and I are probably about the same age. So
right. Did yeah, Dick and Jane, the Berenstain Bears, you remember
yes,
them?
Berenstain Bears. Yep. Yep.
There was probably
Yeah.
about probably a good dozen of those books.
Hmm.
And then there were ones that were they were published under the Cat in the Hat Dr. Seuss things, but they weren't by Dr. Seuss.
Oh,
One of them I think was called "Are You My Mother?" where this baby bird goes around and got lost and
oh.
goes up to a backhoe and says, "Are you my mother?" And it just said "toot," and moved on to the next thing, and
Mm,
all these other things were not its mother.
mm.
There were so many of them back then, and I was also huge into dinosaurs.
Oh, okay.
And dinosaurs was my big thing too, and I had a whole bunch of dinosaur books. And I used to, our family entertainment was me pronouncing these dinosaur words that are
Mm.
about this long,
Right.
and
Hmm.
such good memories back in the. We're lucky to have such good books for us to read
Right.
too. You know,
Yeah.
that's really something that's really a gift and a good bonding thing between parents and children. I think is reading.
Mm.
And I
Absolutely.
really think you've brought something nice to the table, to that world, with
Oh,
your
thank you.
two books here. Yep.
Thanks so much.
Yep. So you had mentioned that you have another book coming out. You're planning on that stuff, and we've discussed that already. Any other projects or anything that you're involved in that you'd like to mention?
No, but through my website, they can find both of the books. My books are available on, of course, Amazon and on barnesandnoble.com and target.com and walmart.com and so on. But through my website, they're less expensive than anywhere else. So my
Hmm.
website is Be Kind Publishing. It's be hyphen kindpublishing.com.
Hmm.
And I named my publishing company, since it's self-publishing, it's my own company, and I named it that because I wanted to have messages about being kind and
Hmm.
um, all of the social emotional learning messages that I have in my stories. And it's sort of a riff on the expression, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice. So that's why I named my publishing company Be Kind Publishing.
And another thing, folks, too, the hyphen is important.
Yes,
Remember to put the hyphen in "be hyphen kind,"
yes,
because there's someone else who I'm sure is fine and good, but you're not going to find Sheryl Bass there.
right,
You know?
right.
So you definitely want to make sure the hyphen is very important there. Well,
Yeah.
it's been lovely, absolutely lovely talking to you.
You
I
too.
appreciate, again, congratulations on a job well done with your books. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing, you know, I guess I'm not sure what it's going to be called, but Baby Dragon 3 or The Return of Baby Dragon or something.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And all my best luck. And I tell you, I'm sure that again, never a dull moment with you, huh?
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Yeah, I definitely want to keep writing the books. So,
Well, great. Well, great. Well, folks, this has been Sheryl Bass today, and be hyphen kind. Um, I'm sorry,
publish.
just
Uh-huh.
publishing.com.
Yes.
You can find, the Baby Dragon books. You can also find, again, her other, things that, eventually are going to come out.
Yes.
You keep an eye there. Remember, we have, she's an independent, self-published. And on Foul Players Radio, what do my guests do? We support small business. We support small business. We support, bands. We support authors. We support people that are out there making great art, because not only are they making great products, they're making great experiences. And here's another one for you here, folks. So make sure you get out and support Sheryl Bass. Remember that early holiday shopping, it's never too early to shop for the holidays. These would make great gifts for a child. So thank you again for being with us. And folks, we will see you all next time. You've been listening to Foul Players Radio with Michael Spedden.
Take care. Thank you.
And folks, thanks for sticking around and watching our interview today with Sheryl Bass, the author of these two books here, Baby Dragon's Big Sneeze and Baby Dragon Finds His Family, available at bekindpublishing.com, be-kindpublishing.com. So make sure you get that. We appreciate you tuning in today, folks. Remember, Foul Players Radio, www.foulplayersradio.com and youtube.com/@foulplayersradio. Remember, support our guests in their endeavors, authors, actors, musicians, support them, buy their albums, buy their t-shirts, go see them. Remember, supporting these artists not only makes for great gifts, but it also makes for great experiences. I'll see you next time, folks. Michael Spedden here